Welcome to Healer Within podcast series. There are many pathways to healing that fall outside the realm of Western medicine and traditional approaches. The purpose of this podcast series is to educate and inspire the community to explore the multitude of lesser utilized pathways to healing the mind, body, and soul. Hypnosis, yoga, meditation, energy healing, sound healing, and yes, even art, music, and dance. For these self-empowering, soul-driven, and vibration-raising modalities exponentially promote and unleash the healer within. Through this series, I hope you will begin to reclaim your power and discover your own unique formula for healing by engaging and aligning the soul, the mind, and the body with the frequency of the higher self. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your healing journey. Hello, and welcome back to Healer Within podcast. This is your host, Amy Marone, founder of Sensorium Hypnosis and Critical Mindset Group. Today on Healer Within, we will explore alternative healing interventions for cancer with guest and cancer survivor Joe Grumbine, founder of Gardens of Hope. Joe founded this 501c3 organization in 2023 and has begun to bring horticultural therapy and education to those in need. In 2023, Joe launched the Healthy Living podcast to build a community focused on health in mind, body, and spirit. In October 2024, Joe was diagnosed with an aggressive cancer and began a journey to live and solve this with the least amount of damage to his body. Joe discovered some powerful tools and is now in remission, avoiding both surgery and radiation. He shares his story in this podcast and recently had his case study in PubMed. Joe has dedicated his life to helping others find their way to their best lives. Welcome, Joe. Joe and I, we've done a podcast together in the past, and I've invited Joe back to talk in greater depth about alternative ways to manage and treat cancer. And so first I want to say welcome, Joe. Thanks for coming back.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Amy. It's always great to sit and have a talk with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, Joe, we're just going to jump right in. I would love for you to share with our audience and listeners what kind of cancer you have and how you ended up in the medical journals.
Yeah, well, what I have, or probably I would say had, is called squamous cell carcinoma. And your body has squamous cells in various parts, including your lungs, your skin. But it often shows up as a head and neck cancer, and that's what it did for me. And so I had a tumor in the back of my tongue, way in the back, down in my esophagus. And that ended up spreading over to the side of my neck, where I ended up having this giant grapefruit sticking out of my neck after a while. And squamous cell carcinoma is notoriously aggressive. It notoriously will mutate and spread and metastasize and come back after many different treatments. It's a very difficult cancer to beat. It's maybe not as bad as pancreas cancer or some of the other ones, but it's definitely an adversary.
And Joe, give us a little time frame. You were diagnosed when?
Well, so I'm getting better at turning this into bullet points because it's a long story,
it's
but
a lot.
almost 3 years ago, I noticed swelling in my neck. I'm a guy who let the human body fix itself. I'm a holistic guy. I let it be for a while. It continued to get bad. Eventually, I went and saw a doctor. Well, at the time, I was in really great shape. And the doctor basically says, well, yeah, you got this lump in your neck, but you're so healthy, it's probably not cancer.
Mhm.
It's like, cool. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So I just kept going. And I says, I'll deal with it sooner or later. I'm not very vain. And I'm like, I got a lump on my neck. So what? Right.
Mhm.
And eventually it kept growing and not getting better. And I went back to him. He's like, we need to do a scan. We did an ultrasound. It told us some things. I waited more. He kept saying, it's probably not cancer. You're
Mhm.
so healthy. If it was cancer and it was this big, it would be consuming you. I'm like, cool.
Mhm.
And eventually I got an MRI, which the results said possible squamous cell carcinoma. At that point, I got concerned, went
Mhm.
back to him, and he recommended I go see a ENT specialist. That specialist right off the bat said, I'm pretty sure it is cancer.
Oh
I'm like,
my.
oh crap,
Mhm.
and the guy was a jerk on top of it. And so I was like, well, F you,
Yeah.
and but he's like, well, we need to do a biopsy to figure it out. I was totally against biopsies because of all the things I've heard, spreading
Mhm.
and this and that. But doing the research, I was that's the only way they're going to know for sure. So I
Yeah.
let him do it, and they took a chunk out, and a big enough chunk that they could be sure. Two
Mhm.
weeks later, I get the call. You have squamous cell carcinoma. We need to get you to an
Mm.
oncologist.
Mhm.
That's where the journey began. So that was October 14th, 2024, that
Okay.
I was originally diagnosed. But I had already had the cancer for at least a good year, year and a half, that was already noticeable. So I'm dealing
Mhm.
with something now for over 3 years.
Mm.
Um, Shortly, so that's when my whole life switched. You get
Sure.
hit with that information and you're like, okay, I got to process this, and then
Yes.
I learn about it, and then I gotta, so I started going to these doctors. I went to a surgeon. He's like, well, we're gonna come in and send a robot up your neck, and we're gonna go and do all this stuff, but first we're gonna do some chemo and radiation. I'm like, whoa, okay. And I go talk to the radiation doctor. He said, oh, you don't want to get a surgery, or he's going to leave you deformed, but we're going to give you chemo radiation and then we'll see where we're at. I'm like, oh boy, okay.
Mhm.
And I go to the chemo doctor. She says, yeah, I'm with the other guy. Meanwhile, I'm continuing to research and, I'm on a mission now. I got to solve this.
Mhm.
In my research, I stumbled upon an article that was titled Cancer's Addiction to Methionine. And I found that just remarkably interesting. I'm like, I never heard about that before. You hear about glucose, you hear about, you know, keeping away from the sugars, away from this and that. And all of a sudden, methionine, that's an amino acid. What the heck is that? So I do some more research. There's published articles about this. I'm like, whoa, this is science. Okay.
Mhm.
Come to find out that this guy named Dr. Robert Hoffman
Mhm.
is done most of the research in the last 50 years. And he developed an enzyme called methionine that actually blocks methionine from your system. I was like, cool, I'll just go buy some of that on Amazon.
Mhm.
And so I go look up methionine, and it led me back to Dr. Hoffman. He's the only guy in the world that makes it.
Oh.
And so I reached out to him. I says, hey, I'd like to buy some methionase. Not knowing anything else about anything, I just like, this sounds like it could help. Maybe it won't. It couldn't hurt.
Right.
Right off the bat, he calls me back or he sends me a message. Here's my phone number. Give me a call. I'm like, whoa, all right. I'm not used to, this kind of
Yeah, from a medical
connection.
doctor.
I call him up. He takes the answer. He's a research scientist. He's not a medical doctor.
Oh, got it.
And he took my call right away. I told him about my situation. He says, "Wow, I need to get you some information." He sends me some information about a low methionine diet. He told me, he says, on Sundays at 4 o'clock, I have a Zoom meeting. We have people from around the world that are sharing their information about their successes. I want to invite you. I says, great. I said, would you like to come on my podcast?
Mhm.
And I'd love to. You sound like a guy who knows a lot of stuff. Sure, no problem. And he's been a regular guest ever since. Well, I come on to their Zoom call on Sunday, and there's people from around the world, doctors, people that were diagnosed terminal years ago, and
Mhm.
they have resolved or controlled their situation with a combination of a low methionine diet,
Mhm.
methionine A's, and a various other regimens. And it might include some chemo, it might include some hormone therapy, it might include some immunotherapy, but those are the standard of care elements. And then generally it would include a lot of other things. The diet is paramount though.
Let's talk about that. I'm wondering,
Yeah,
like, what foods you could
it's
find methionine in and
a
what you have to eliminate.
it's a hard diet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that keeps most people away from this
Mhm.
is the difficulty of the diet. So previously I had lost about 50 pounds. I was on a keto type diet and
Mhm.
I cut out all the sugar and the carbs out of my diet. I was eating a lot of protein. Well, it turns out methionine is an amino acid. It's
Mhm.
one of the primary amino acids. There's 20 amino acids or so that make up every protein in your body
Mhm.
and every protein that you eat. So it is found in protein.
Mhm.
And so I was doing the opposite of what I should have been doing. I was eating all
Mm.
this protein, eating cans of sardines and salmon and chicken and eating all this
Yeah.
good quality meat, right?
Mhm.
And I was feeding the cancer. And so
Mm.
it turns out if you do the research and you start going on to PubMed and you look at published science about methionine, that all cancer cells have a high requirement for methionine, which is just an amino acid
Mhm.
like lutein, creatine,
Mhm.
all these other amino acids that we take as supplements regularly, right?
Yeah.
Um, and but cancer cells require a huge amount of methionine from an external food source. So your
Mhm.
body is really good at recycling amino acids.
Mhm.
So your cells break down, your body goes through autophagy and removes old cells, takes them apart, recycles them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, so you got protein, it just takes it apart, all the amino acids, and then uses them for something else.
Yeah.
So your body makes its own methionine, but the cancer wants it from a fresh food source
Mhm.
regularly. And if it doesn't get it, it weakens it and it doesn't allow the cancer cells to metabolize.
Mhm.
What people don't realize is that cancer cells are programmed to live
Mhm.
and to divide and to
Mhm.
grow.
Mhm.
And so cancer will metabolize whatever you're eating. People say, oh, you got to cut the sugar out. Yeah, that's great. Cut the sugar out. What are you going to eat? You're going to
Right.
eat. Well, guess what? Cancer will upregulate and start eating your fat. You want to do keto? Cancer will upregulate and start eating your ketones. It doesn't care. It'll do whatever you're doing. It is you.
Yeah. Right.
And
So, yeah.
so once you learn that, you go, oh, okay. So there's a chart that has foods that have high levels of methionine,
Mhm.
middle amounts, and low amounts. And there's also another site that I have that shows the same thing. It's a tough diet.
What do you eat? Give us a sampling of a
I
day
I
in the
eat
life of Joe's nutrition plan.
I, I eat mostly fruit in the morning,
Mhm.
and I'll eat a lot of vegetables in the afternoon. Now, vegetables are great, but they don't have very many calories.
Right.
And so, what's really strange is I almost eat the opposite of what I did before because I
Yeah.
wasn't eating fruit before because
Uh-huh.
it's full of fructose, which is a double sugar,
Mhm.
and your body turns it into glucose, right?
Mhm.
So it's doing all the stuff you don't want. Well, it turns out whole fruit with all the fiber and everything is actually one of the best fuel sources you can eat because your body, it doesn't flood your body with sugar. Your body
Mhm.
will it consumes it at a measured rate because of the fiber.
Mm-hmm.
So you take in a bunch of fruit and your body will feed off of that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to calories, I'm out there working pretty hard in the
Yeah.
farm and I got to get calories. So sweet potatoes and potatoes have become my primary calorie source. The
Mm-hmm.
opposite of the keto diet, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No carbs. Well, guess what?
Yep.
If you're not eating a bunch of protein, and I don't eat any processed food, I don't
Mm-hmm.
eat any fast food, I don't eat any sugary foods except for, a piece of birthday cake once in a great while if
Yeah.
it's his birthday, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Uh-huh.
A lot of fruit until about 2, 3 in the afternoon, and then I switch to vegetables. I do eat a little bit of beans. That's
Mm-hmm.
my primary source of protein.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, I will break. It's essentially a vegan diet, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll break down and have an egg once in a while
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to be a slave to it.
Yeah.
I love my eggs. We have chickens, and eggs are such a superfood.
Yeah.
But I take this enzyme methionine after I do take any protein in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's expensive, but it blocks the methionine from being absorbed,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
works. And so, you think about removing protein from your diet, and the next
Mm-hmm.
thing you know, you're essentially you're not eating any meat, you're not eating any dairy, you're
Yep.
not eating even a lot of vegetables and fruits have methionine in them. Like this chart is pretty rigorous.
Wow.
Legumes are tough, beans, limited amounts. um, it's a hard diet. It's just a hard.
Joe, yeah, I can only imagine. I've had to go on many extreme
Oh yeah, you've gone
nutrition
through a lot of
plans
it too,
due to
right?
my rare digestive disorder, but also my neuroimmune condition.
Mhm.
So I know all about experimenting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, considering the nutrition plan you're on, are you able to get enough variety?
It's rough. I eat as a job now,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and I find joy as I can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the chemotherapy I took really ruined my taste and left
Mm-hmm.
a really bad taste in my mouth. It's slowly diminishing, and
Mm-hmm.
so I love beans and I love eggs and I love
Yeah.
potatoes I find joy in the food that I eat. I love
Mm-hmm.
fruit, so I just find ways to enjoy it. I eat a little rice, but rice has
Mm-hmm.
got more methionine than I should be eating, so I only eat
Sure.
a little bit. I eat a little sourdough bread.
Yeah.
Uh, it's simple foods that
Mm-hmm.
um, are just relatively low in methionine. It's really the key
Yeah.
to it all.
Yeah. It is well I noticed in my journey and then just working with other people with chronic illness is like, it's a real shift in mindset that
Oh,
instead of living to eat, you
right.
eat to live. And you do,
100%.
you're absolutely right. You find joy in other things.
Yeah.
What I'm also wondering is, what about hydration? What are
Yeah.
you,
Critical.
yeah, let's talk
Critical.
about that.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like my whole life turned into I need to stay alive.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot about, my physiology and the importance of things like hydration. So
Mhm.
I drink a lot of water. I drink green tea. I drink black coffee. I,
Mhm.
f- I fast. Well, the problem is with this diet, you lose a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so I lost too much weight, and it's a balancing act. So if you lose too much weight, you start to absorb your own muscles,
Hmm.
and then you release methionine, and you become
Yeah.
your own food. So you
Yeah.
can't let yourself lose too much
Yeah.
weight.
Hmm.
So I'm very conscious of my weight. I'm very conscious of all that. But hydration is key and easy to solve. I've been dealing with some anemia, because of all the chemo I did and all of that. And so I make we have lemon trees out here on the farm, and I make hot lemonade with blackstrap molasses. I mix it in there.
Mm.
And so I drink that regularly, a big old cup. And then I just always when people drink, they do it wrong. Like they'll guzzle a 32-ounce glass of water, and it's just like that's the dumbest thing you can do. You just overpower your kidneys, and you fill your whole stomach full of water, and that messes with your stomach acid. I mean, you just
Yeah,
sip water all day. It's really easy. You just
completely.
you
Yes.
know take a
I,
little bit, keep it with you. It's
I-
not a big
yeah, I get that so much. My system can't hold too much of anything,
yeah,
whether it's food or liquid.
right.
And so it is about, I mean, it is a whole different mindset and approach of moderation and just
Well,
being
it's a
aware.
balance, everything's a double-edged sword. So, if you don't get enough protein, then you can have anemia problems.
Yeah,
And if you get if I get too much, well, then it just says cancer cells, go ahead, have a buffet.
yeah,
And so you got to balance it with water, you know, um, what you kind of learn is to listen to your body.
yeah, yes,
And, if you feel thirsty, your body's already dehydrated.
yeah,
And so, don't ever let yourself get thirsty. It's a real simple thing, pinch your skin. And if your skin doesn't pop right back, then you're dehydrated. Drink a
yeah.
little more water. I mean, like there's
Mhm.
little simple tools. And, I'd say the diet is probably the most important factor. One of the key elements, though, is that the things that we do, diet, oxygen, heat, all the other things that we do,
Mhm.
they work in concert with, in my case, was chemotherapy.
Mhm.
And I found a combination of drugs that could knock this thing out. And
Mhm.
I think I showed you pictures, the study
Mhm.
has a whole photo display. And I had a giant grapefruit sticking out of my neck, and it's now gone. You can't even tell I had a tumor in my
Mhm.
neck. And I had no surgery. I had no
Incredible.
invasive procedure, no radiation at all. So what happens is these other things we do, and the diet's probably the most important piece of
Mhm.
it, they cause the standard of care treatment to work better.
Yes, I want to talk about that because you
Yes,
talked about three things that
yes,
people can do to diminish some of the side effects
right,
of these Western medicine interventions, but
yes,
also things that you can do to stave off recurrent, uh, the recurrent cancer.
absolutely. So fasting is integral in this.
Mhm.
There's a there's a pr- there's a protocol that whether it's radiation or chemo, if you fast, a water fast for 48 to 72 hours prior to taking the treatment and 24 hours after, it will enhance the value of the treatment significantly
Uh-huh.
and reduce the amount of side effects significantly. So that's
For
uh,
chemotherapy
chemo or radiation.
or radiation.
Yeah, and it's proven. There's science behind it. There's
Mhm.
numerous studies that back that up. So the fasting protocol is integral. Aloe vera juice, fresh cut aloe, and
Mhm.
and you take the leaves and you take off the bitter outer part and eat or juice up the fillet on the inside, can reduce the amount of swelling and lesions that can be a result of these treatments,
Mhm. Mhm.
tremendously. And then oxidative therapy. This is huge. So any of the standard of care treatments besides immunotherapy, radiation, chemo, and some of the others are called oxidative therapies. So what ultimately they do is they oxidize the area of the cancer cells and around it, which causes them to die. And so
Mhm.
just like rust, you leave iron out in the sun and get it all wet and it oxidizes and starts breaking apart. Same
Mhm.
thing happens. Cancer cells do not like oxygen. So when
Mhm.
you get oxygen in an oxygen-rich environment around a tumor, in a tumor, it just starts destroying it.
Mhm.
And so when you're doing chemo, that's what it is. It's oxidizing, oxidizing. When you get radiation, it's oxidizing. But you can also do things to enhance that. And
Okay.
so I do ozone therapy.
Okay.
There's a lot of different ways to consume ozone. I personally make an ozonated glycerin and I consume it orally. But
Mhm.
you can do insufflocation, there's a lot of ways to get ozonated, and that's a whole nother conversation, but that's one way. I also would take food grade peroxide and either
Mhm.
consume it, drinking it, which is horrible, tastes
Yeah.
like bleach, but
Yeah.
gets oxygen in you,
Mhm.
or I put it in my CPAP machine and nebulize it at about a 4% solution. I breathe it for about 20 minutes at a time,
Mhm.
and it increases the oxygen. So with the ozonated glycerin, it's a special trap. So glycerin is half of a glucose molecule.
Mhm.
And so when you take glycerin into your body, it floats around in your bloodstream, and the cancer's like, oh, look, there's glycerin. Let me go grab some of that. Because it looks like glycerin, but it's only half a glycerin. I mean, it looks like glucose, but it's only half a glucose molecule. So the cancer goes in and grabs it, starts to metabolize it. And instead of it being glucose, there's an extra oxygen molecule. And
Mhm.
blam, it's like a trap, like a Trojan horse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it lures it in and then gets it. But meanwhile, your healthy cells thrive in an oxygen-rich environment. So all it's
Mhm.
doing is helping your brain, helping your organs, helping your gums and teeth, helping everything that wants oxygen
Mhm.
and attacking the cancer. So
Mhm.
it's really important. Exercise is another
Yeah.
important way to increase the oxygen level. You get
Mhm.
out there and do a vigorous workout, do some cardio,
Mhm.
go for a hike,
Yep.
get your blood rate, your pulse rate going up, and you're getting oxygen. Deep breathing exercises,
Yeah.
do your box breathing.
Mhm.
Breathe in deep as you can, hold it for 4 seconds,
Mhm.
breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds out, and then breathe in for 4 seconds. Do that
Mhm. Yep.
each time, and you will increase the oxygen level. You can literally put an O2 sensor on your finger and watch it go up by doing
Yeah.
that. It
Yeah.
works.
Well, and as you're talking, I can't help but wonder how many of these approaches or holistic interventions could help people with other conditions.
100%.
Right? Because I have a neuroimmune
Yes.
condition. There,
Hello.
there's no cure. There's no Western medicine treatment.
Right.
But I will tell you, even with chronic fatigue, if
Yes.
I give in to that too much and don't exercise,
Yep.
boy, it makes my situation 10 times worse.
Yes.
And I'm with you. We've got to be so connected to our intuitive mind and
Yes.
really have a strong mind body connection to understand our own individual response to certain other interventions.
It's
Uh,
paramount. You got to
so,
get to
so
know
it's
yourself.
amazing. Joe, there is a question I wanted to ask you. It's a little bit off this
Sure.
track, but it's tapping in or picking up from our last conversation that we had last week about immunotherapy
Yes.
for and that is something that I had never heard of. And when I've
Yes.
talked to my inner circle who may have had cancer, knows a lot about cancer, no one seemed to have heard about this. So
Yes.
can you give us maybe a 2 minute explanation of
Yes.
what that is?
I'm taking a drug called Keytruda,
Mhm.
and it's a drug that basically um, You take it as a infusion. So I have a port, they stick it in my port, or otherwise it'd be intravenous. And it basically goes in and stimulates your body's immune system,
Mhm,
which is MK cells, T cells, your body's cells that are designed to go and attack problems.
mhm,
And it causes them to recognize the cancer cells.
mhm,
So cancer has cloaking devices, and it's designed to not be seen by your immune system. Because
mhm.
if your immune system saw it, it would just attack it and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you don't belong here." So this, and there's a number of different immunotherapy drugs, and they're fairly new into the
Mhm.
thing. And there's even a viral therapy that I know
Yes.
about. Yeah,
Was it the Vicina?
yes, and it's been
Very
around
good.
for 50 years.
Blew
And
me
nobody
away.
knows about it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're using it successfully. But yeah, this I'm on this immunotherapy drug. I've had I think five infusions, 4 or 5, and there's no side effects that I can tell thus
Mhm,
far. Um, and it the idea is it is potentially a maintenance program that will cause my body to recognize these mutated cells because
mhm,
we all have cancer cells floating around our body.
mhm.
And if they don't get an environment to land in, then you live the rest of your life, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
But they get an opportunity to start growing and spreading, that's when you start having a problem. So if your own immune system says, "Oh, just like a lung infection or a sinus infection or a foreign body, you get a splinter and you get a little festering," that's
Mhm.
your immune system working.
Yeah.
And your body can go after the cancer just the same way it would with a simple sinus infection. Go out,
Mhm.
attack it, get rid of it, and then you don't have it. So that's the idea.
That's exciting. Joe, your case was written up in PubMed.
Yes, that's exciting. So working with Dr. Hoffman, and again, he's a researcher. He's been in the field for 50 years. He's a PhD. He's taught medical schools. He's this guy's been around forever. He's like 82 years old. We're good friends. I go to his lab in San Diego
Uh-huh.
after a treatment sometimes, and we just hang out and go have lunch.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was instrumental in guiding me as we're discovering, figuring these drugs out, even helping me find this oncologist that I'm working with now. And the treatment that I did was so effective. Literally every week, I was going on to this meeting, with all these people, and they're looking at my neck going, "Holy cow, it's smaller than it was last week.
Yeah.
It's smaller, it's small. What do it
Yeah.
was, even the oncologist was like, "Oh my God." So we documented everything we did along the way,
Mhm.
including the diet, the methionine aids, the oxygen therapy. And we didn't get into all the things I did because it's hard to say what's doing what.
Yeah, completely.
We know that the diet was critical in this. And so that was the primary focus. And then we did the chemo along with it. So he has a whole team of doctors that work in his lab. And basically I gave the narration and I gave him all the photos of
Mhm.
I literally took a picture for, I don't know, 50 days
Mhm.
as it was getting worse, and then as it was getting better, every day I took a picture. So there's a whole documentation. They drew it up. They wrote the thing. They submitted it to PubMed. It got turned back. We had to do a few edits, and then it got submitted again. It's a peer
Uh-huh.
reviewed. It was published in a cancer journal, and then that's what was submitted to PubMed. And it got published in November, and
Mhm.
it's there for everybody to see, and it
Incredible.
it, it tells the story of my protocols, these protocols that I use,
Mhm.
along with a standard of care chemo treatment,
Yeah.
and having a result that was far beyond what anybody's
Yeah.
expectations was, and potentially today I'm cancer free. I'm going to find
Oh,
out. I'm actually in an hour. I'm going to be heading off to an ENT to go over my scan results, and we're it's so exciting, and
it is.
I just want to help people. I want to share this with everybody. And like you said, these protocols and adding to it sleep, you got to get a good night's sleep every.
Yes.
But if you do all these things, it doesn't matter what you're battling, your body will perform better
Yeah.
and it will likely reduce the severity of any ailment or disease that you're dealing with and will likely cause your body to restore, recover, or reverse these things.
Yep.
And it's just that way.
Oh, Joe, your story is amazing, blows my mind. I get so excited when we connect and we have these really deep, engaging conversations because, like me, you have a fire in your belly for
Oh yeah.
helping people
Yeah.
be able to, manifest optimal health. And so, Joe, I want to put in the show notes some great links. How can people learn more, connect with you, maybe get in on these Zoom conversations with Dr. Robert Hoffman? Like, what can we share in the show notes that will
That
help people expand their repertoire of tools and resources if they are battling cancer or if they have someone close to them who
I
is
would say the link that I gave you to the Zoom call, you
okay?
could add that
Yep.
every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 4 to 6. It's a 2-hour call.
Uh-huh.
Anybody's welcome.
Mhm.
Just come on in and introduce yourself and you can be anonymous. You can share whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Is it more of a support group? Do research scientists and doctors
It's
share?
all of it.
Uh-huh.
There's a number of physicians that are present. Dr. Hoffman's always there.
Mhm.
A lot of physicians that have been undergoing cancer themselves, and many people that were diagnosed terminal many years ago
Mhm.
and are still here.
Wow.
Um, and the thing that we all have in common is the low methionine diet with the methionase. And then everybody else has other things that they share. Many researchers, um, there's a Dr. Exume, who's a retired surgeon. He's was diagnosed terminal, I think, 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and he's still here. And
Yeah.
he shares his story. This guy's brilliant. This guy
Yeah.
makes me seem like a dullard, and it just knows so
Wow.
much about everything.
Mhm.
And a number. There's Dr. Fox. I mean, we talk about vitamin C infusions. We talk about immunotherapy treatments. We talk about hormone therapy treatments. We talk about, um, exercise with oxygen, all sorts of
Mhm.
oxidative treatments. I mean,
Yep.
everybody shares their stories
Yeah.
and um, new developing research that comes out. It's really, there's nothing like this anywhere.
It's
So
it's it's
that's the first
amazing.
stop. And then the
Uh-huh.
second is my Healthy Living podcast. If you want
Yep.
to share that,
I
I
do.
have
Uh-huh.
probably 30 episodes where I detail my journey from diagnosis to where I am.
Mhm.
And Dr. Hoffman joins me regularly,
Uh-huh.
and we're always talking about research and my case and other people's stories. And again, this guy's just a wealth of information. This guy, he spends his whole life researching, and he
Yeah.
just amazing. Those are the two best
I
resources. I'm
I love
available.
it.
I'm here to help
Mhm.
people.
Sure.
uh, I
Can
give
they
you
connect with you through your website, Joe?
you
Gardens
know
of Hope, or is there another place?
I don't really have, I mean, my Gardens of Hope website is more for the nonprofit.
Sure.
I have a website for me that I haven't done anything with. I can
Oh,
give you my phone number. I can give you my
okay.
email.
I'll
Uh,
drop it. I'll drop it in the show notes.
yeah, yeah,
However people can reach you
yeah,
if
yeah. Put
they
my
want
email in there. That's
information.
probably the best way.
Yeah, email.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Joe,
yeah.
this has been an amazing interview and conversation about cancer. I know too. I mean, when we spoke last week, I couldn't write fast enough. So I know you and I are scratching the surface, but I also know when I play this back, it will stimulate more ideas for great
Sure.
conversations. And
Absolutely.
one is even just, this is be another podcast talking about imaging.
Yes.
Because, I shared with you, I have a close friend who has a very rare form of cancer. And his
Mhm.
question is like, what kind of imaging or tools can be used for early detection? And so that's a whole nother.
That's a huge conversation, and there's a number of blood tests that are emerging. There's new imaging techniques. Actually, I was approached by an imaging company that has some new cutting edge stuff. They want to be a guest on my podcast. So
Amazing.
always new things
Yeah,
happening, and I would love to talk about that because that's critical.
yeah,
If you think you got something that's not right, don't let it sit and wait.
yeah, yeah.
Just
It's
don't.
interesting. I've heard a number of people with swelling and lumps in their throat and neck who just, either the doctor dismissed it or, they're like, I'm healthy.
Yeah,
What
yeah, they
what
call it
could
a
this
goiter or
be?
something, and I'm like, that's what I thought. I
Yeah,
thought the same thing, and
yeah.
then
But
don't
it's
mess
just
around.
absolutely because, 2 or 3 months time goes by of a quickly metastasizing cancer. Those are critical moments
If
in
you do the
time.
research and you see at the rate that cancer can grow, and
Mhm.
by the time you notice it, it's already huge.
It's yeah, yeah,
It's already huge,
yeah.
hundreds of
Now we've
thousands
got to
or
be
millions of
aggressive.
cells.
Mhm.
Yes. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's detection is key. That's going to be the key to more people surviving and overcoming is catching it early.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, I have absolutely loved our time as always. You are an incredible resource for all of us and an incredible light worker, very passionate about helping others in their journey. So thank you so much,
Oh,
Joe,
it's my
for
pleasure.
spending time with us. And you and I know we're going to see more of each other.
I'm looking forward to it, Amy.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. We'll see you next time.